Room for change amid the arrival. The wind howled through the dusty streets of Stillwater, Texas, a town as frozen in time as the sepia-toned photos in its city hall. It was 2025. But in the grand foyer of the Whitmore Grand Hotel it could have just as easily been 1052 when Dr. Amina Caldwell pushed open the heavy oak doors. The lobby chatter hushed like a movie. Paused mid-scene. Her stride was confident, her heels tapping out a rhythm of purpose. On the marble floor, a black woman with natural hair in a soft bun dressed in a sharply tailored navy suit. Amina stood out in more ways than one. The receptionist, a stiff man in his 60s with sun-weathered skin and a badge reading Marlin, barely concealed his grimace can. "I help you?" he asked, suspicion coding every syllable. "I believe you can," Amina replied. Coolly producing a reservation slip to Amina Caldwell. "I have a suite booked for the week." Harlan took the paper like it might burn. Hamuha. "Well, just a moment, Mom." The other guests, a pair of elderly couples sipping mint juleps and a middle-aged man in a faded trucker hat, watched like hawks. Whispers flitted across the room like ghosts of old prejudice. Harlan returned, "I'm sorry, but it seems there's been a mix-up. We don't have any suites available." Amina didn't flinch. "That's odd. I confirmed the reservation yesterday. Perhaps you'd like to double-check." He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her tone, firm but calm, patient, yet commanding, made him hesitate. "I'll see what I can do." Chapter 2. Whispers and windows. As she was finally handed a key, one of the guests muttered under his breath, "Ain't Ryther kind in a place like this?" Amina heard it. She always did. She didn't need to respond. She rode the antique elevator up to the top floor, the key clutched in her hand like a quiet victory. The suite was modest but clean. She dropped her briefcase and looked out the window at the town below. She knew what Stillwater was and what it had been. She'd grown up an hour east of here in a house that still had bullet holes from the ADS. But she wasn't here for nostalgia. She was here on business. Chapter 3. The revelation the next morning. The hotel was buzzing, rumors flew. Why was she here? Was she rich, a celebrity, the mayor's mistress? The truth was far more explosive. Later that afternoon, the Whitmore's manager, a barrel-chested man named Keith Rollins, was summoned to the conference room for a meeting he hadn't realized he was hosting. To his surprise, seated at the head of the table was Dr. Caldwell, reviewing a stack of documents. "You're with the university?" he asked, hesitantly. "No," she said. "I'm with the Justice Department." Rollins blanched. "The what? Civil Rights Division," she said, looking up. "You're being investigated under the Reconstruction Restoration Act passed last year. Stillwater and several surrounding towns are under review for systemic discrimination in hospitality, housing, and public services." "You what? Why?" he stammered. "Because she said your numbers don't lie. Over the past 5 years, fewer than 5% of your hotel's guests have been black. There have been multiple complaints, all dismissed. I'm here to see for myself." Silence. Panic swept through the staff, faster than a fire drill. Rollins called Harlan in. The receptionist, red-faced and trembling, refused to meet Amina's eyes. "Dr. Caldwell, this is all a misunderstanding." "No, Mr. Rollins," she said, packing up her folders. "The misunderstanding is thinking that a woman like me wouldn't come back to a place like this with a badge." Chapter 4. Change isn't always quiet. The investigation lasted 2 weeks. During that time, the hotel staff was interrogated, documents subpoenaed, and townspeople interviewed. Some were supportive, others hostile. One night, someone scratched slurs onto Amina's car. Another night, a young girl slipped a thank-you note under her door. On the final day, Amina held a press conference on the hotel steps. "Stillwater has a history," she began. "But history is not destiny. We change it with action." The hotel was fined, federal training programs were mandated, Harlan was forced into retirement, Keith Rollins was replaced. And Amina, she didn't stay for applause. She packed her suitcase, nodded at the new receptionist, a young black woman named Janelle, recently hired, and left the Whitmore Grand behind. Epilogue Legacy. 3 years later, the hotel had its first black general manager. Stillwater saw its first Juneteenth celebration. A mural of local changemakers appeared downtown, painted by teens from a nearby school. Among them, right at the center, was Dr. Amina Caldwell, holding a clipboard, her chin lifted to the sky. Not everyone understood what she did, but they remembered. Would you like a version of this formatted for a screenplay, short film, or performance piece?